Good evening and welcome to Hope TV News Watch on this Friday, the 12th November 2021. So glad you could join us to inform you on the stories making headlines in the country. Also stay tuned for an interview with Caroline Kinoti, who heads the County Support Division in the National AIDS Control Council, as we dissect matters regarding escalated numbers of teenage pregnancy and HIV infection. My name is Grace Angoi and our sign language interpreter tonight is Boniface Muravi. Let's begin with the highlights. A section of Ukambani leaders now claim that governors are being blackmailed to support ODM leader Raila Odinga as Deputy President William Ruto and Raila Odinga tour Ukambani to sell their 2022 political agenda. This even as leaders continue to condemn the stoning of DP Ruto's convoy in Kondele, Kisumu County on Wednesday, calling for tolerance. And Chief Justice Martha Koome filed a notice of appeal against a decision by the High Court which ordered the president to appoint 6 judges. In Siaya County, families spent night in the cold after their homes were demolished following land dispute. Now, Deputy President William Ruto's entourage has thronged Kitui County to popularize Ruto's bottom-up economic agenda, as ODM leader Raila Odinga also held a rally with Ukambani leaders in Makueni County to champion his Azimio la Umoja campaign. In the campaigns, a section of Ukambani leaders allied to Deputy President William Ruto expressed concern that governors were being blackmailed to support opposition leader Raila Odinga. Speaking in Kitui County, they claimed that the governors have been asked to either support Odinga or face corruption charges. Meanwhile, a group of Ukambani leaders have endorsed ODM party leader Raila Odinga to run for presidency come 2022. Alice Diana begins our bulletin.
After completing his 3-day tour in Nyanza region on Thursday, Deputy President William Ruto on Friday pitched camp in Kitui County, where he appealed to the residents to rally behind the Hustler Movement's bottom-up economic model that aims to transform their lives. The Deputy President said the trickle-down economic model had failed to address the needs of ordinary citizens and only benefited a few individuals.
Ninyi mnasema tubadilishe katiba kwanza, tuongeze vyeo ya viongozi na mamlaka ya viongozi ama tubadilishe uchumi kwanza? Si tubadilishe uchumi kwanza ili tupangie hawa vijana wetu ajira, wapate nafasi ya kufanya kazi na kujisimamia, na tuwapatie hawa wafanyabiashara wadogo pesa ya kuinua biashara yao, na tusaidie wakulima watuzalishie chakula ya kutosha, tuondoe njaa.
Speaking during public rallies in Zombe, Mutomo and Ikutha in Kitui East and Kanyangi in Kitui Rural, Kitui County, Ruto also urged opposition leaders to stop criticizing his bottom-up economic model without offering an alternative agenda to Kenyans.
Priority number 1 kwa mwaka ujao, tuweke pesa bilioni 100 vile tulikuwa tumepanga ndani ya Big 4 ili vijana hawa tuwapangie ajira kutoka kwa manufacturing, kutoka kwa housing, value addition, agro processing. Hizo mpango zote hawa vijana kwanza tuwapatie ajira.
A section of Ukambani leaders allied to the DP claimed that state agencies were using governors to popularize former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's candidacy against their wishes, a move they said was facilitating corruption in counties and denying the people services.
Tumeelewa kuna governors katika nchi yetu, na juzi imetokezea vizuri sana vile governor wa Iguru alisema anakuja kutabua deputy president, na the following day ikasemekana anashikwa. Magavana wamekimbia huko kwa kitendawili, sijui Azimio la mawe, kwa sababu wameambiwa wakionekana karibu na deputy president watashikwa.
Hatunajua wamelazimishwa through blackmail waende wamulaki ama wasupport Raila Odinga, kwa sababu Raila Odinga ni project ya deep state. Yes. Na sisi tunasema tunajua kwa nini mnaangopa mnaenda huko, kwa sababu tunajua nyinyi kazi yenu mnafanya na mambo ya corruption mingi sana. Ndio sababu mnatumia huyu Raila Odinga so that you can be covered or protected from DCI or EACC.
Elsewhere, ODM party leader Raila Odinga took his Azimio la Umoja campaign in Makueni County, where he said Kenya is working towards its third liberation, which is economic revolution.
Sasa tuko kwa harakati ya ukombozi wa tatu wa Kenya. Ukombozi wa kwanza ilileta uhuru, ya pili ilileta katiba mpya, ya tatu na ya mwisho ni ukombozi ya uchumi katika taifa letu, economic revolution. Na hapa ndio sisi tunaleta vijana wa Kenya wawe kwenye mstari ya mbele. Hiyo ndio sababu tumeleta hii mambo ya azimio la umoja. Kwa sababu gani? Hatuwezi kutekeleza wajibu wetu kama taifa kama tumetengana.
Raila at the same time vowed to fight corruption, saying that he knows where the loopholes are.
Every year, there's still a lot of money. President Uhuru Kenyatta told you 2 billion kila siku, over 700 billion per year. We know where those loopholes are. Me and Charity and Mutua here, Ngoe there, Kivuta, you've been in government. I've been the Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya. Mimi najua pale kuna mianya pale ambayo wanatoboa. Mtaziba zote.
We have resolved as follows. 1, that we will join hands with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga for the 2022 elections of the Republic of Kenya and Azimio la Umoja. 2, that we enact a vision for a Kenyan nation founded in the principles of utu, umoja, usawa, usalizaji, and ustawi kwa wote.
For Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Alice Diana.
Thank you, Alice Diana, for that report. Now let's move to this story where Chief Justice Martha Koome has filed a notice of appeal against a decision by the High Court which ordered President Uhuru Kenyatta to appoint the remaining 6 judges left out of his judicial appointment in June this year. As Kennedy Kimani now reports, the Chief Justice says she is dissatisfied with the judgment of the High Court and wants the Appellate Court to overturn the entire ruling.
Chief Justice Martha Koome, through Muman Kanjama Advocates, has filed a notice of appeal against the entire decision of the High Court, saying she was dissatisfied with it. The High Court on August 21st had ordered President Uhuru Kenyatta to appoint the 6 nominees within 14 days, failure to which his powers will be considered to have expired and the 6 will be deemed to be duly appointed. The 6 nominees that were left out are Joel Ngugi, George Odunga, Weldon Korir, Agri Muchelule, Registrar of the High Court Judy Omange, and Chief Magistrate Evans Kiago. A 3-judge bench ruled that the 6 judges will be deemed to have been appointed after the 14 days lapse, consequently upon which the CJ should assign them. It is this ruling that Chief Justice Martha Koome says she is dissatisfied with. JSC had in 2019 presented 40 nominees to the President for the appointment as judges of the High Court and Court of Appeal who are to be appointed within 14 days. However, President Uhuru only appointed 34 after a prolonged period, leaving out 6 nominees. Kennedy Kimani, Hope TV Newswatch, Nairobi.
Thank you, Kimani, for that report. Now, a long-standing land dispute pitting members of an extended family in Ugunja culminated in the demolition of several homes as the affected members were left to spend the night in the cold following a court order by the Siaya High Court. More than 10 houses, cattle kraals and toilets were flattened by a demolition squad which descended on the 3 homesteads at Sira village in the outskirts of Unguja town under the protection of armed police. According to the family matriarch, 78-year-old Josephina Musina Nyangmango, a squad of youth under the escort of heavily armed policemen stormed her homestead as she was preparing to leave for the West Uholo location chief's office to seek advice over an eviction order that was served to her family last Thursday. Nyamango said the youth, who were armed with crude weapons, ordered her back to the homestead and immediately started demolishing her house, a kitchen and the toilet before moving to 2 other homes belonging to his sons, where they demolished more houses.
Sibui kwa mimi natoka naenda kwa chief, likuwa iko barua ingine ananipa mimi na hama. Mimi nachukua hiyo barua nataka pelekea chief. Kufika kwa mlango ya boma, mimi nakutana na hawa askari na watu mingi na jembe. Kila mtu na jembe. Namwambia nafuruga mimi huko, enda. Mimi narudi. Kama mimi narudi nyumbani, na wengine naingia na jembe. Nachukua jembe hiyo naweka kwa nyumba. Pa kila mtu watu 6. Mabati naanguka yote. Nyumba yote naanguka chini. Sasa pahali mimi naenda ajui. Hata kitu hakuna naye sasa. Hata nini naweza fanya namna gani? Sasa mimi nasema serikali ona mimi. Kama naweza saidia mimi upate nyumba. Hakuna pahali napata nyumba. Bwana yangu nakufa samani.
Mimi nilitoka nikienda kazi. Kutoka nikienda kazi nikapigiwa simu. Hata hebu rudi nyuma. Nikauliza, kwani kuna nini, nimetoka kwa boma saa hii, hata bado sikuwa nimefika kazi. Hati nyumba zinabomolewa. Nikauliza, nyumba zinabomolewa. Hati hii court order yenye walileta juzi wamekuja kubomoa maboma. Nikatoka huko nikakuja mbio. Kufika hapa nikapata nyumba ya chini ishabomolewa, boma ya shosho yangu ishabomolewa. Sasa wako kwa nyumba yangu ndio wanabomoa. Nyumba wengine wako nyumba ya madhe. Kuangalia nimepata mapolisi wamekuja hapa wengi. Na kuna watu wa leba Ugunja, wametoa watu Ugunja wa raia ndio wanafanya hiyo kazi. Na Matarimbo na Musyoka ndio wanafanya hiyo kazi. Mimi sasa hakuna kitu yenye ningefanya. Mimi niko hivi. Singefanya kitu yote juu polisi pia wamesimama. Sasa kwa sheria pia haifai ulete kelele na mtu.
The issue at hand is a matter of conflict over land. A greater family are conflicting over the ownership of the land. This is a matter that has been in the court for so many years. We request for calm. We stay in peace. But I want to appeal also to our courts that in as much as they are discharging their function, which is arbitration and interpreting our laws, issues of land are emotive, issues of land are quite complicated. I would suggest going forward the courts need to have social workers or legal officers that are attached to the communities. The legal officers can be giving them background information on what they need to do in circumstances like what we are facing today. And we don't want to live in a society where people don't see an eye to an eye. We want to live in a society that people live in harmony and people love each other. So the courts should help us bring peace. So as we talk, I think also another area that the courts need to focus on is alternative dispute resolutions. This matter of land, they needed to come and sit down with the elders here. The elders will really support, for example, in creating arbitration in a manner that do not affect any party.
Let's move to this next story. Rift Valley Regional Commissioner George Natembeya says as part of enhancing education to all, the government will construct classrooms in over 800 schools in the region. The project, which is expected to cost an excess of 1.3 billion shillings, will see schools selected receive an average of 2 classrooms each. Further, Natembeya announced that the tendering process has been done and concluded.
Contractors now wale ambao watakuja kujenga hayo madarasa waanze kuleta application. Walitakana deadline ilikuwa kesho, lakini imekuwa extended mpaka tarehe 12. Na hawa ni local contractors. Maana basically tunataka also pia empower wale watu ambao wako mashinani. Najua darasa moja na shilingi 1700. Zile shule ambazo zimepewa haya madarasa sio zote katika Rift Valley. Tuko na madarasa 1680 ambayo itajengwa katika Rift Valley kwa shule 868. 868 schools to benefit from 1680 classrooms.
Let's do one more story before we go for our first break. Narok Governor Samuel Tunai has called on the Maasai community to continue preserving its culture for posterity as it helps instill discipline to the younger generations. Speaking during an Emanyata celebration held in Loita, the governor condemned outdated cultural practices like FGM, early marriages, and teenage pregnancies, saying such practices were pulling the community behind in terms of their economic growth. The governor further urged the older generations to take time to mentor the younger generation.
Umeona machifu ya mila wameamuka, wazee ya mila wameamuka. Hii ni mambo ya utamaduni, mila na utamaduni ya rika ambayo inaitwa imeshuki. Na tunasema ya kwamba mambo ya mila ni muhimu sana katika jamii kwa sababu inaleta kitu inaitwa discipline katika community. Inaleta discipline sana. Sisi tulifanya yetu tukiwa Kisaruni tumemaliza. Wengine wale wakubwa wamefanya imemalika. Sasa limeshiki wanafanya yao. Na sasa sisi kama mimi nikiwa gavana wa kaunti hii na hii jamii ya Loita kwa sababu ni jamii tunaheshimu sana na hii rika inaitwa limeshuki wako na yao, tumekuja pia sisi mimi nikiwa gavana yao tumekuja kusherekea na wao pia kwa sababu wanafanya yao. Umeona baba zao wamekuwa hapa, vile desturi inatambua, wawafunze vile desturi inafanyika ili wao pia wakati ikifika wakati yao, wakati wanafanyia vijana yao wajue vile watafanya. Na hiyo ndio imefanya tukuja hapa siku ya leo. Kwa hivyo yangu ni kusema ya kwamba tumekubaliana wote ya kwamba tutaendelea kuhakikisha mambo ya FGM ya kwamba itamalizika, mambo ya early pregnancies ya kwamba itamalizika, mambo ya early marriages kwamba itakuwa wiped out. This is what we all agree as leaders, even as we celebrate these things, ya kwamba together with the leaders ya these communities, kwamba all of them, they don't subscribe to early marriages, they don't subscribe to early pregnancies, and they don't subscribe to FGM. They all agree to that. Na kwamba baada ya hii watoto wote wataenda shule.
Let's now take that first commercial break. We'll be back with the interview I promised at the beginning of this bulletin. Don't go away.
Survival is a natural instinct. Do we eat to live, or do we live to eat?
We go through so many problems because sometimes when you go fishing, our boats get broken. So the rescue has to come and save you from drowning. Also, sometimes we experience storms, which makes us come without any fish.
At Dunga Beach, they depend on you to eat fish for them to live. Scouring for fish in the ever-dwindling supply of Lake Victoria. Slowly, the future of fish in the lake is dimming, and so is the future of the fishermen. Catch A Fishy Lifestyle, a story by Dolly Murigi, this Tuesday at 9 p.m. only on Hope TV.
Join us every Sunday for unlimited, uplifting, powerful worship, only on Extended Worship.
Gari mpya!
Umetoa wapi gari mpya?
Optiven wametusort.
Optiven?
Nunua any of our value-added properties ama redeem installment ya property yako. Kwa kila malipo ya 10,000 unapata 1 entry point kwenye draw ya furahia na Optiven promotion. Airtime kushindaniwa kila siku, holiday kila wiki, shinda ploti na gari kila mwezi na grand prize ya Mercedes-Benz C180. Ni rahisi, buy ama redeem na ushinde na furahia na Optiven.
Thank you for staying with us. We are now going to have the special interview, I promise, with Caroline Kinoti, who is the head of the County Support Division in the National AIDS Control Council, and we'll be discussing the worrying numbers of teenage pregnancy and HIV. Now, data reveals that Nairobi led the pack with adolescent pregnancy of girls aged between 10 and 14 with 2,379 cases, followed by Homa Bay with 1,530 cases. Kajiado then followed with 1,496 cases and Mandera with 1,370. Caroline, thank you for joining us and welcome to the show. Let's begin there. Why these numbers? What is happening with the young girls? Has this situation always been like this?
Yeah, thank you, Grace, for having me around. And I'm happy that today we are discussing a very pertinent issues about teenage pregnancies affecting girls aged 10 to 19 years. And well, let me say that teenage pregnancies did not start in the year 2020 or 2021. This has been happening. And our concern has been drawn by the fact that we are not seeing a reduction or a dip in a reduction. And more so, it's as if now the curve is stagnating and we need to do something about it. Mm-hmm. So there are causes, there are factors that are leading to this, and I believe we'll have an opportunity to discuss this today.
Yeah, it's important that I also mention, as I read the statistics, Nairobi leads the pack. And for 2 years, Nairobi, Kajiado, and Homa Bay have topped the list. Why do you think this is the case?
Let me say that we have various causes and drivers which are different for different counties. And for Nairobi, let's start by saying that Nairobi has the highest population. We have over 4 million people living in Nairobi. So when it comes to absolute numbers, you'll find that still that replicates when it comes to the number of teenage pregnancies. However, that said, you find that there are other factors that contribute to now the number of cases going up in Nairobi. One are the poverty levels. You'll find that Nairobi is home to the very rich, the middle class, and the very poor. And poverty, when there's poverty, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old will be forced sometimes to go to the streets, get some money, engage in sex, so that they get money to meet their basic needs. Issues also around drug abuse, drug and substance abuse. We find that also that's rampant. We also find aspects around peer pressure. And with peer pressure comes with peers in school, in the neighborhood, and also social media. And some of the girls want also to emulate what they are seeing, whether it's from their peers or even from social media. When it comes to a county like Homa Bay, which is fairly a rural county, you will find also there are aspects of also cultural practices and also peer pressure in a different aspect. Because you'll find that maybe a 13-year-old will now emulate what they've seen their bigger sister, 17-year-old, getting pregnant. And it's acceptable. So, and parents also, issues around cultural practices whereby you find that parents don't talk openly also about issues around sexuality. Yeah, then a county like Kajiado, I know you've also mentioned Kajiado. There are also cultural practices also that come in, early marriages that come in for forcing girls to start engaging in sex early, or they are married off early. So those are some of the different drivers that are there and affect counties differently. Yes.
Thank you for that. Now, one of the reasons cited in the report that was released on Monday was that sexual violence against girls was a major reason for the increase in teenage pregnancy. How true is this? And for viewers who are watching us at home and don't understand what sexual violence is, let's start there by explaining what exactly sexual violence is and how it has contributed to the increase in teenage pregnancy. Caroline.
Okay, thank you, Grace, for that. Simply put, sexual violence. Sexual violence is when you have a sexual act without a person consenting to that. And for us, when it comes now to issues about adolescent girls or teenagers, I don't think an 11-year-old can consent to having sex with a 20-year-old. So that's violence. That's violating that girl. So when we find that now there are even older men violating a girl younger, that's such sexual violence. And when that happens, sometimes it happens even when it's when it's somebody trusted and known to the girl. It can be the father, it can be the brother, the uncles, it can be the teacher, it can be the clergy. So all that we say, it's sexual violence because there is no way a child can consent to having sex.
Yeah. That's true. Also, another thing I want us to talk about is that these 10-year-olds getting pregnant are pretty young. So what is the myth? Is it that we should start introducing sexual education at age 9 or maybe earlier? What should we be doing in order to prevent these cases? Because a 10-year-old is a very young girl.
Yeah, rightfully said, a 10-year-old is a baby, is a child, and we've seen them getting pregnant, unfortunately so. We need sexual education to start early. And we are not saying it's introduced as sexual education at the age of 3, because I think that's where we've had a disconnect between parents, the clergy, and the schools. But more so teaching children at an early age on the boundaries and about their private parts, knowing also who to trust, for instance, although that also has been abused. But when you start talking to them at an early age, they know what their private parts are, and that they should not allow anyone to even touch them, for instance. That is like a 3-year-old. Of course, questions will come in and they'll ask you, so what if auntie is bathing me? But now that's where you need to differentiate between appropriate touching and, normal like dressing and bathing and all that. As they grow up, you continue providing information that is appropriate to that age. And by the time they get to age 9, because we are finding that for some girls, they start even their menstruation at the age of 9. So by then, we need to tell them what is happening to their bodies and what to expect. Puberty is setting in, all the changes that come with it for both boys and girls, what is expected, and how to take care of themselves. In addition to that, this is also where we build on our trust levels with the children, and also creating role models as parents, as teachers, and also as other members of the community. And for now, for either, whether it's the parents or even at church and religious settings, this is where you teach values and who to trust when something happens. What should the child do so that they are not caught in a situation where maybe they are going through abuse and they don't know who to report to or where to seek support.
Maybe if I can interject and also ask, we are saying we should be doing this. So who are the people we are giving this responsibility to speak to these young children? Because sometimes you've said that even the parents sometimes sexually violate their girls. So if then they can't depend on their parents. Even at church, some clergymen have been had to have violated girls or maybe boys. So who are we giving the responsibility to speak to these young girls?
This is what I can say or speak to this. It's all our responsibility. And for us to see or to get the increase in numbers of teenage pregnancies, it shows that we are all not playing our role. Therefore, it starts with the parents. There is what they need to do. Yes? And I know most of our parents grew up in a time when, or even for us, we grew up in a time when training was through threats. You know, you do this, this happens. If you go out, get pregnant, then you have yourself to blame. Things have changed. And now providing information from an early age by the parents. We have the teachers also. We have also the religious setup, even the media. And we find that nowadays, for children as early as even 5 or even younger are exposed to media. They have their phones, the tablets, and they can access this information. So everyone needs to come together. For us to win this fight, we all have to join hands and call a spade a spade. If it's teaching about comprehensive sexual education, we don't have to call it sexual. We don't have to bring in the aspect of sex in it, if that is what is bringing issues, but more so education that is focused and will continue gradually provide relevant information to these children as they grow up. Mm-hmm. Yes.
As a society, most parents are not able to speak boldly to their kids. Most of these parents don't even have the right information to share with these kids. So I think there's a gap between the parents are supposed to give the information, don't have the right information to give. Even the teachers, sometimes most of them don't have the right information to equip a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old. So what do you think can be done to provide this content, make it available for parents, for teachers, for the adults who are teaching the young girls?
Thank you, Grace. And I think for a long time, we've said that the parents don't have the right information. The teachers say they don't have the right information. The clergy say they don't have the right information. So who has the information? And now the children are seeking information from their peers and even from social media. So we have to come back as a society and everyone to play their role. Mm-hmm. For parents, parenting has changed. And I think parenting, when one becomes a parent, it doesn't come with a manual, you know? You grow and you learn with it. And the parents are afraid. They don't know maybe what to say. They feel that they may say the wrong thing. But it has to start somewhere with everyone involved. Mm-hmm. And I know as we now start these campaigns, as we talk about it, even in the media, as more people discuss about it, then even people get more comfortable talking about sex and sex education. And they know that it's okay to do it. And even sharing information, why can't we be the agents of change? Maybe even come up with even a write-up on some of the common questions on puberty and or sexual education and possible answers. It can be just starting from somewhere than all burying our heads and feeling that somebody else should do it. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's now switch gears and talk about HIV. The report also indicates that there's also an increase in HIV infections among the teenagers. So how dark does the future look for this country, seeing that we have a high number of infections among the teenagers who will be the adults of tomorrow?
Yes, for HIV infections, I'll start by saying that, well, generally or overall, the number of new infections have gone down over the years, but we've not got to our target and our goal, which is to end new HIV infections by 2030, we may not get to that because we are seeing there are still new HIV infections that are coming up. And most of these new infections are among young people, and more so adolescent girls and young women. And you can imagine now when that happens, a young girl, 13-year-old, gets pregnant, she gets HIV in the process. She'll not go even to the clinic. Most of these young girls will not go to the clinic, so they'll not get tested. They may not even know they are HIV positive. They may only go to the health facility to deliver. And it's that at that point that it may be discovered that they are HIV positive. So you are young, you are HIV positive, and maybe you are defiled. So all this comes in and you have to handle it. Now, going back to HIV, you'll find that for still these young girls, since they didn't go to the health facilities, so they didn't get treatment, they were not started on antiretroviral therapy, so they are likely to pass the HIV infection to their children. So we get now more children getting born who are HIV positive. So we'll not break the curve. More children get new infections, and therefore we have more new HIV infections. So the cycle continues. And something we've also established is that for these young girls, you find that when they get pregnant at an early age, some of them, they lose, their life is distorted completely. They may be able to go back to school, others may not. And the cycle of poverty continues. Their children may also get pregnant. So it's all a very difficult situation to be in. Yeah.
It's very sad statistics, but because of time, constraints of time, we are going to end it there. But before you leave, maybe you can talk to us about what are your final remarks? What are you saying to the Kenyans who are watching you regarding the increase in teenage pregnancy and also HIV? That's your camera.
Okay. So this is what I'll say. It's not a time to blame and to blame whichever, can I say, person or sector as the cause of teenage pregnancies. We all need to join hands, and even as individuals, join hands and address this issue once and for all. Because if we don't, then the cycle will continue. And for us as National AIDS Control Council, that's why this year we've joined hands with other stakeholders and also with the National Council for Population and Development that is mandated to address issues of teenage pregnancies, to address issues around teenage pregnancies and HIV infections so that we can be able to reduce the number of new HIV infections in this country and end inequalities when it comes to new HIV infections. Thank you very much, Grace.
Thank you so much. That's it for this interview. That was Caroline Kinoti, who is the head of the support division at the National AIDS Control Council. I think this is a conversation that can go on and on and on, and it's a conversation that needs to continue so that we can bring awareness and end this menace. Now, let's take another commercial break. We'll be back with more stories. Keep it Hope TV. Thank you, that went well. Asante.
Survival is a natural instinct. Do we eat to live, or do we live to eat?
We go through so many problems because sometimes when you go fishing, our boats get broken. So the rescue has to come and save you from drowning. Also, sometimes we experience storms, which makes us calm without any fish.
At Dunga Beach, they depend on you to eat fish for them to live, scouring for fish in the ever-dwindling supply of Lake Victoria. slowly. The future of fish in the lake is dimming, and so is the future of the fishermen. Catch A Fishy Lifestyle, a story by Dolly Murigi, this Tuesday at 9 p.m. only on Hope TV. Hope TV is where you look and live, with an excellent selection of the best Christian programming consisting of local and international content of inspirational stories, talk shows, Bible commentary, youth, health shows, children entertainment, contemporary gospel music, extended times of worship, live broadcast, news, movies, drama, Christian ministry programs, and so much more. Hope TV is another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries, with over 45% of authentic and credible local content every week. Hope TV is a sister station to Hope FM, Kenya's leading Christian radio station, with footprints across the country. Tune in to Hope TV, where you look and live.
Join us every Sunday for unlimited, uplifting, powerful worship. Only on Extended Worship.
Dad! Gari mpya! Umetoa wapi gari mpya?
Optiven wametusort.
Optiven?
Nunua any of our value-added properties ama redeem installment ya property yako. Kwa kila malipo ya 10,000 unapata 1 entry point kwenye draw ya furahia na Optiven promotion. Airtime kushindaniwa kila siku, holiday kila wiki, shinda ploti na gari kila mwezi, na grand prize ya Mercedes-Benz C180. Ni rahisi, buy ama redeem na ushinde na furahia na Optiven.
The government, through the Ministry of Education, has been urged to intervene and help uplift the standards of education in schools that have physically and mentally challenged students. This comes as the world celebrates Mentally Handicapped Awareness Month, where most of the mentally handicapped children have either been neglected or hidden. Dolly Mwirigi has this report.
Speaking to the media in Mwamunyu Special School for the Mentally Handicapped, Mary Wambui Njoroge, the head teacher, say that most parents can't raise enough funds to sustain the kids, as there is need for the upkeep of the student while in school for better learning and sustainability. Mary said that the cash dispensed in such school is not enough, and yet a lot is required to sustain the learners in school.
We would urge the government to come out and assist these learners. No matter the funds they disperse to our schools, the money is not enough. We try our best to manage them, but the money is less because this student requires a lot.
However, parents with such kids have been asked to bring them out and not hide them, as the situation usually deteriorates whenever they're hidden or kept at home. At the moment, the management had called on the parent and the caregivers to come and get some tips on awareness on how to live and manage the kids. The team was led by Dumitla Muindi from Site Enterprise Promotion, who added that they have been working with people living with different disabilities to bring awareness about them being in community and to empower them with skills which can help them in the near future get income and finance their day-to-day lives.
It's a good thing for parents and everyone in the community to be aware about mental health, that these people, they're important in our society, and they also need to be taken care of just like any other person in the society.
November being a month of the mentally and physically handicapped awareness, the team saw it wise to come and train and create awareness to the parent and the community. The talks included showing them how to deal with stigma, how to provide good nutrition to the kids whenever they get help, and better treatment in hospitals, among others.
We also want to urge the government to look into their issues, how these people, how they can give a hand to these people and how they can come in making their lives more comfortable, even in the schools, at home.
Zuhura Rajab, the Chief Officer, Social Welfare and Civic Empowerment in Machakos County, say that they are joined with the site enterprise promotion in creating awareness and training the caregivers for mentally handicapped children on how to take care of such kids, adding that they have been working hand in hand with the program Boresha Maisha Mama Mlemavu to help assist such kids on how they can live well and sustain themselves.
We have been running a program called Inua ama Boresha Maisha ya Mama Mlemavu. We have trained them on entrepreneurship, how to make soap, how to start their small businesses, and even supported them in starting those small businesses. We have managed to get the data for the women, PWDs in the county, and we are planning now to start on the data for the male in the PWD male in the county, as we try to see which other program we can do for the male as we have been doing for the women.
Dolly Wirigi, Hope TV, Newswatch.
Thank you, Dolly, for that report. Now, Boda operators in Mvita constituency, Mombasa County, have been urged to shun politicians inciting them to cause violence. Speaking during the swearing-in ceremony of officials of the Boda Safety Association of Kenya, Mombasa chapter, Mombasa politician Suleiman Shabal, who is set to vie for the Mombasa gubernatorial seat for a third time, said there is an urgent need to embrace mature politics. Newly posted Sub-County Police Commander Joseph Ongaya, who was also in attendance, warned the Boda operators that the government will not entertain unlawful acts during the campaigns or after the polls.
Ndugu zangu watu wa bodaboda, mukumbuke kitu kimoja muhimu sana. Leo tuko mwezi gani? Novemba. Si ni kweli? Election inakwisha lini? August 2022. Miezi 10. Si ni kweli? Siasa inakwisha August 2022. Lakini musiwache wanasiasa waje wawagawanye mukaanza kupigana. Jamani, hiyo ni siasa mbaya. Tunakubaliana hiyo? Yule ambaye yuko na baba inua mkono. Yule ambaye yuko na William Ruto inua mkono. Unaona mimi niko na hawa jamaa wa UDA hapa. Sote tulitoka chama kimoja. Na sote ni wanasiasa pamoja. Na sote tumekaa hapa bila kupitiana ngumi wala kutukanana. Kwa nini wanasiasa wanawafanya nyinyi mugawanyike? My friend, siasa hiyo ni siasa mbaya. Na wewe mwenye bodaboda, ufahamu kwanza kae kufani mwenye bodaboda mwenzako mwanzo. So siwache siasa ya kitaifa ikiingilia kwenu. Kama una support huku support, kama una support huku support. Ni sawa au si sawa hivyo? Mimi na support baba. Na jana William Samoei Arap Ruto alirushiwa mawe Kisumu. Lakini baba alikuwa wa kwanza kusema hiyo ni siasa mbaya.
Kweli.
Na mimi nawaomba tuache siasa mbaya.
Kweli.
Tuache siasa mbaya. Mimi naheshimu watu wa bodaboda na sekta ya bodaboda, kwa sababu kila mtu mwenye bodaboda anasimamia familia yake.
Kweli.
Anasomesha watoto wake. Anapeleka chakula nyumbani. Kweli au si kweli hiyo?
Kweli.
Na kukiwa na shida mtaani, mtu wa kwanza kuitwa ni nani? Bodaboda.
A section of ODM Youth League from Mount Kenya have condemned the stoning of Deputy President William Ruto's convoy in Kondele on Wednesday, terming it unfortunate. The youth leaders called on their peers to embrace political tolerance, urging them to shun away from political leaders using them to cause chaos during political campaigns. Further, they castigated leaders from the mountain region whom they said had been dismissing ODM popularity in the region, calling for peaceful campaigns.
Ningependa kusema chenye kilifanyika Kondele jana kinatusikitisha sana kama wanachama wa ODM, kwa sababu sisi watu wa ODM hatupendi vita, na tumeona mikutano yote yenye imefanyika kama Mount Kenya, watu wameweza kujitokeza na kila mtu ameweza kuembrace Raila Odinga kama the fifth president of this Republic of Kenya, na tuna condemn wenye wanatucriminalize kama watu wa ODM ati sisi tunapenda vita. Tunavyoona hata kwa magazetini leo, tumeona kwamba hiyo kampi ingine ya wanauda walienda wakaahidi vijana watawapea pesa, na kulingana na venye walikosa kuwapea hizo pesa, ndio maana vijana walianza kubishana wao kwa wenyewe wenye walikuwa wameahidiwa pesa. Kwa hivyo chama ya ODM ni chama ambayo imekubalika hata hapa Mount Kenya, na tunasema sisi wote tujitokeze kama vijana wenye wanataka viti wajitokeze kwa wingi, na wajue kwamba ODM ni chama kubwa na iko na nafasi ya kila mwanarika kwa hii country.
Na tumeamua this round hakuna vita tunafanya, hata sisi wacha tuangalie ile mwelekeo tutaenda tukijua tunaweza saidika kama mavijana. Juma vijana wetu hapa tukiongea ukweli, watu wanakunywa madrugs hapa wanaharibika. Vijana wamesoma, wako na madiploma, wako na madegree, lakini unapata hakuna kazi wanapata. Sasa hao maviongozi hao wanasema wajua kama kuna mwingine hapo, ni vile siwezi taja jina, walikuwa wamesema ati hii Mount Kenya ati hakuna mambo na ODM. Ati hii Mount Kenya ni UDA. Tunataka kuwaambia hivi, ODM tuko watu wengi. Kama sisi kwanza mavijana hapa tuko zaidi ya 40,000. Wale tunajua weko nyuma yangu na wanajua wanaenda na baba. Na mimi najua mpaka mlima Kenya hii yote. Juu kama baba alikuja juzi, hivyo inasemekana. Alianzia Tharaka Nithi, akakuja Meru, akakuja Ronyenjes, akakuja Embu, ndio akamalizia.
Now for our feature of this week, what started as a children's home that catered for children orphaned by the HIV and AIDS pandemic in Mathare North, Nairobi County, has now grown into a functional primary and secondary school in Ngong, Kajiado County, impacting lives to becoming one of the most successful educational institutions in the country. Dickens Luvanda brings us the story of Dr. Stephen and Professor Rosemary Mbogo, who are the founders of the By Grace Elimu High School.
Investing in various types of education from the time children are young ensures that they have a strong foundation and that the whole person is being educated, with the studies showing that those who are more educated are more likely to live longer, live healthier lives, and are even more likely to help strangers. The story of Professor Rosemary Mbogo and her husband Dr. Stephen Mbogo clearly details the saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The two are the directors and founders of By Grace Elimu High School, a private day and boarding mixed school located on Ngong Suswa Road, exactly 2 kilometers from Ngong Town, Kajiado County. By Grace arose when founders Stephen and Rosemary Mbogo started addressing the dire needs of abandoned children in Nairobi's Mathare slums in February the year 2005.
In 2003, because of seeing the need of education and of providing more schools, because as you know, in 2003, that is when free primary education came, we decided to begin the first school in Mathare North, and Tumaini School, which is there up to now, was started.
The mother of this entire institution is By Grace Children's Home. The home was founded in February 2005 to provide a haven to the growing number of orphaned and destitute children who were affected by the HIV and AIDS pandemic, primarily from the slums of Nairobi and the surrounding areas.
In 2005, we started a children's home. In Mathare North at that time, we had a lot of people who were dying because of HIV and AIDS, and children were being left. And the phenomena of families being raised by children was already rampant in the country. And as we thought of how we could intervene and help the orphans, we asked ourselves, what do we have? We tried to get help, and we were not getting an external sponsor, and so we decided to begin taking the children into our house. We were not separating families, so some of the children were older, and so the homeschooling worked very well for us.
What started as a children's home with an aim of providing a loving environment for orphan children has now grown into a fully functional primary and secondary school. By Grace High School merged with its partner school, the Giraffe Education Center GEC, which was ranking topmost performer in Mavoko constituency, Machakos County.
We have over 330 children in primary school and kindergarten, and we have over 240 in high school.
The home ilizaa the primary school. Tulipoona hiyo need ya hawa watoto wasome, kwa kuwa tuliona hatuwezi wapeleka watoto wote katika private jinsi tulitaka wetu wawili iwe, maana Mungu alituchallenge ya kwamba kile tunachofanya kwa mtoto mayatima ama mtoto aliye katika dhiki lazima hiwe ni kitu ambacho mtoto wetu sisi tungependa naye hawe katika hiyo hali.
Since GEC was being run by the Elimu Trust, the merged school became by Grace Elimu High School.
We opened up to the community. It was 2009, and so that's about 13 years. Yeah, so, but the high school, we started in 2013. So the high school is about 7 years old.
Na hivi sasa tunazidi kujenga, hata wakati wa COVID tumezidi kuongeza madarasa.
It is also referred to as authoritarian government.
In one of the Form 4 streams, teacher Godfrey Mulongo is taking the candidates through history lesson revision just a few minutes before the lunch break bell rings.
We have
England. The keen-looking students from different backgrounds will sit for the KCSE exams early 2022. Madam Ruth Kagera, on the other hand, is taking her Form 1 students through agriculture lesson. Professor Mbogo says the school exists with an aim of nurturing curiosity to learn in children, using integrative models to enhance achievement of their utmost innovative potential in the intellectual, psychosocial and spiritual aspirations.
Today we know that there are many challenges that schools go through. We see the stress, we see the pressure. So we've sought to keep our numbers at manageable numbers, to ensure that our teachers are able to cope up with the challenges of our children, to offer them counseling, as opposed just to taking children who are in distress, where we take a teen mother with her child and we educate as the teen mother is going on with school. We do have a daycare for the little babies.
Competency-based curriculum CBC has as well been embraced here, despite cries from some of the guardians over its cost.
When CBC was introduced, the fact that it was promising to be focused on the strengths of students, we really embraced it positively. I would say here at By Grace, we have embraced the concept. Our parents are with us because we are the biggest parent as the children's home. But there are serious financial constraints. I just wish the government would consider schools like ours that are charitable and consider sponsoring children, at least with the textbooks.
The community has since embraced the institution as focus now shifts in ensuring the destitute children access education. Dickens Rovanda for Hope TV Newswatch.
Thank you, Dickens, for that well put together story. Now let's move to some business news. And the Family Group Foundation has embarked on the restoration of 10 acres within the Ngong Hills Forest ecosystem in Kajiado County through a partnership with Green Blue Foundation Africa. The activities will provide employment for the youth through restoration and conservation activities, fight desertification and climate change, conserve and enhance water availability, and develop and sustainably use natural resources for the benefit of local communities around the Ngong Hills Forest. Speaking during the signing of the agreement, Green Blue Foundation Africa President Bedan Mbugwa said they have created and adopted the square meter restoration model that allows partners and individuals to adopt several square meters of the forest ecosystem.
Talking about today is trying to deal with those issues to make sure that our planet will continue to be habitable, not only for us during our lifetime, but also for our children coming forward. That is what this debate is all about. Let us use clean energy instead of the fossil fuel one. We can all use solar. I think some of them. How much does a solar cost? All of us can actually can do solar. Let us try to substitute that kind of clean energy. That's a contribution you can make.
We want to join with you to be able to make Kenya a habitable place, a place where we are not fighting for little resources.
Most of you may not know, but it's actually now a government policy that when you're building a new building, you must incorporate solar system. And that is a commitment that government has given to the world, that clean energy is a must. If we are going to do anything about changing the course of climate change.
The Vivo Energy Kenya, VEK, the company that distributes and markets Shell-branded fuels and lubricants in the country, has launched its 250th Shell service station along the Eastern Bypass, while also unveiling a national consumer promotion. The 12-week promotion will see consumers win various prizes regularly.
And the most important is our consumers. I know we are all consumers, but those people you see there, we call them kings. I've never known why the queens is never used, but they are kings and the queens. They are the only people who have a choice of deciding where to drive through.
This year has not been easy for the Kenyan motorists, and through this campaign, we want to put at least a smile on their faces as we wind down the year. We welcome everyone to participate in this promotion, not only for the prizes, but also to experience our differentiated fuels and lubricants.
We've already moved ahead of the market. We are aware of what the customers need, and fuel efficiency is one of the key factors that they look into. And we are proud that as one of the products that we'll be offering, we are offering with the free product training, and just to encourage each and every member here that as part of this partnership, we are ready to go all the way for all your customers.
The Kenya Revenue Authority Commissioner General Githi Mbori has reiterated the authority's commitment to strengthen stakeholder ties to build strategic partnerships that will enhance tax compliance and support revenue collection. Speaking during the Carrier Golf Open at Windsor Golf Hotel and Country Club, Mburu noted that their interactions with stakeholders in the month of October have yielded impactful sessions. The golf event marked the climax of the Carrier Taxpayer Month celebrations, commemorated annually in the month of October.
Wow. You know, everyone who earns income in an economy like this is supposed to pay taxes. What we have observed over the recent past is that we are seeing a lot of Kenyans in the social media being able to post very nice things, some trips to Dubai, going all over the world, and then also some very huge car and beautiful cars, nice houses. You know, they are posting all these things, and the question we have to ask ourselves is that have they paid taxes? So all we are doing is to just compare their lifestyle as portrayed by them in the social media with the returns that we have in the authority. And we are realizing a good number of them are nil filers or non-filers. So we are asking ourselves, how are they funding that lifestyle without contributing to the government in terms of taxes?
The recent expansion of this social component is a testimony that we are independent and we have the ability to manage delivery of our services, not only delivery but also excellent services. In the past, it's not been very easy because tax payment is never, a game of golf. It's not a very enjoyment situation. That's why people used to come with guns, with arms, would use the police to enforce. But now that's significantly changed.
Now let's switch gears and move to some sports. Athletes in Laikipia and Nyandarua counties have called on the Athletic Kenya to empower more female coaches as they were better placed to deal with issues affecting female athletes. Speaking during an athlete consultative forum held at Nyahururu town, the athletes, led by marathoner Mary Washera, noted that some of the female athletes were in exploitative and abusive relationships but lacked the right persons to speak to. While reacting to the murder of top female athlete Agnes Tirop, who was murdered in her house, Washera regretted that they lacked representation, making it hard for them to open up to male coaches.
That they decided to bring these seminars here on the ground because usually they are held in Nairobi and they have selected athletes who go to these meetings. But I think it's good that they decided to bring them to the ground where they meet like upcoming athletes, not just those athletes that are established, because these are the athletes who are going through so many problems.
Siku ya leo na furaha kwamba Athletics Kenya wametutembelea huku Nyahururu ama Nyandarua kwa hisani ya forum ya kujua maslahi ya wakimbiaji na changamoto ambazo tunazipata tukiwa wakimbiaji.
We now come to the end of this live broadcast. Thank you for keeping me company and thank you for the team who made this bulletin a success. My name is Grace Ongoin. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Boniface Mureithi. Enjoy the rest of your programming and the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.